Oh man, community. Community. Wow. This week for me has been about community. Thinking about community, being in community. And I was thinking, man, being in community is hard. Being in community. And I was thinking about when we're in community, particularly a spiritual community, people have these expectations about what it's supposed to be like and what we have to live up to and how we got to be this way or that way. And as soon as we do that, we have stopped being inclusive. Whatever expectation, people show up to spiritual community going, oh, this is going to be better than that community or that community. Because in spiritual community, you know, we put politics aside. Yeah, sure. The thing about spiritual community is you showed up. I showed up. We all show up with whoever we are, and that's what we bring to community. We bring our wounds, our boundaries, the places that hurt. And so when something rubs against that, we're going, wait a minute, that doesn't feel so spiritual. This isn't my community. I don't like the way that feels. Then we're not inclusive. To be inclusive, we have to be willing to open to the fact that there's going to be not, most people look at inclusive and they think, well, that means we're including gays and blacks and this and that. But it also means includes opinions, differing opinions, different ways of being, different perceptions. And some of people's perceptions can be really hard when they differ so strongly from your own. And so how are we with that? How do we sit with that? How do we somehow stay in community when it's like, well, this doesn't feel good to me. This isn't what I was looking for in community. Well, what you find in community is what you brought. And so when we're doing this work of being together, breathing is really important, right? Taking a deep breath. When I was in Burbank, I was involved in an interfaith council. And we didn't really work together like some interfaith councils in terms of doing stuff together in the world. We got together and Muslim, Baptist, Catholic, Jew, Protestant, and myself, we got together to complain about our communities. We got together, we'd sit around and have coffee, and somebody would say, oh, you can't believe what just happened in my community. And then somebody else go, the exact same thing happened in mine. And then the other person go, the exact same thing happened in mine. And lo and behold, we found out it didn't matter which religion you believed in, which community you were in, what was coming up was the same across the board. It didn't change. It didn't change. And we'd laugh. We'd sit around and we'd laugh in terms of community and all the different things that are a part of it and what we as spiritual leaders work with in spiritual community, whichever one it is. We were laughing about all the different aspects that go on in community. And how that's just the job. But it isn't just the job of the spiritual leader. It's a job of anybody who wants to be in community. If you really want to be in community. how inclusive can you be? So I've been in deep, deep curiosity these past few weeks. Just sitting with some very deep stuff about me, about our community, about how we relate, about what's important, about how we hold all the different opinions and ideas and strategies and this and that everybody brings to community. How do we hold that? And this week, this was the week that it finally kicked in. And so one of the things I have been looking at is, what is it that makes for a great spiritual leader? What is it really? I mean, what's my job really? And so part of it is allowing all of that, right? And I came up with a trestus, a bar, if you will, something that when I looked at it, I thought, this makes my life worth living to live up to this. And I put it on the back table back there for any of you to look at. Because I thought that as your spiritual leader, the most important thing I can do is model what it is we're all looking for in spiritual community. That it's my job, for starters, to model that. Not to get up here and just preach about it, but to see how deeply I can live into that, so that then you know it's possible, so that you can start living into that, for those of you that want to live into that level of leadership, so that we can hold a larger container of inclusivity. And so what's back there is not a promise of perfection. What's back there is my commitment of the bar I want to stand up to. And I'm going to be sending it out to leadership, and because I want anybody who wants to hold me accountable for what's on that sheet of paper to feel free at any time to walk up to me and go, you really aren't living up to number 8 or 6 or 4. You get to hold your spiritual leader accountable. You get to do that in community when there's a spiritual leader, which at this point is me. Right? And I want that, right? This is, when I came up with this was really exciting for me. This was really exciting for me. I said, oh man, if I could be this would really be fun. This would be a fun way to be in the world. And so I'm very excited to have anyone come up to me and say, you're not living up to this. Whatever number it is on that thing, and tell me. And I promise that if you do that, the worst case answer you'll get from me is, I'll take a look at that. The best case answer is, I'll actually see what you're talking about at that moment and go, oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, something to work on. But I want it. And the more of us that do, that are willing to be held accountable to a high spiritual leadership place, well, imagine that impact in our community. Imagine what that would be like if we could hold each other accountable in a good way. Somebody comes up to me and goes, you broke rule 4, and that's, bad. I may not react as well. Maybe you've noticed that if you talk to somebody else like that, they don't react well either. And so this is how we learn how to hold each other accountable in a good way. That's community. Can we hold each other accountable in a good way? Hold each other up. Hold each other to rise. See each other as rising into something greater than who we are now. But that doesn't happen when somebody's so darn sure they're right. Doesn't happen then. So one of the things I've been practicing this week, okay, let me put this differently. I have never had there are some of you out there who have probably at some point in your life had an issue with using your voice. That has never been my issue. My issue is using it in a good way. Speaking up has never been my problem. For some of you, it might be. If you're somebody who, if somebody comes up to you and touts what an expert they are and says, this is how it has to be because I know best, it may shut you down. It may take your voice away. That's a really good time to say, well, actually, I get to speak too. I may not be the expert here, but I still get to have my say. Because we're in community and we all matter. So that's important, that everybody gets to feel in community like they matter. Like what they have to say matters. For somebody like me, what's important is that I learn to say it in a good way. So for instance, the statement I read this morning about the membership, I must have rewrote that 25 times this week. Really wanting to say what I wanted to say in a good way. Taking my time. I noticed that if I take my time, I do way better than when I speak quickly. Take a breath, take 2, take 10, take 20, right? But ultimately speak. Every one of you here has a voice. And I want to hear it. The person next to you wants to hear it. If they don't, well, then that's their growth in community. Because what we have here in this community is something called shared leadership. Shared leadership means we all get to have say. Means nobody gets to come and say, this is the way it is. Others get to say, well, wait a minute, I may see that differently. Let's have more conversation around that. Let's see what's possible. One of the things that is vital to have a community that rises is curiosity. It is vital to hold curiosity as one of the highest tenets of what we do. Because without it, it's a closed system. Can you feel that? Without curiosity, what we have is a closed system. A closed system doesn't have any place to breathe or grow. For a community to be alive, it has to breathe. It has to grow. It has to be able to encompass more than that which we think is possible. More than that which we have come to see, whether it's in our expertise or not. Perception is everything. Perspective is everything. How we perceive, how we look at things, impacts how we treat others, how we hold ourselves in community. Can we hold each other in a good way and give voice to that which is looking for voice? So, when you're looking at, is this my community? I would give you a couple of ideas around that. You want to be in a community, or, I don't know what you want in community. Let me just give you some ideas of what I've seen around community that you may want to think about. open-hearted, open-minded, curious. Do you enter, and is somebody curious as to who you are? Curious. Is there a teaching that makes sense? That holds an openness to it, that could work wherever you are in your life, not just when you show up on Sundays. A community that is willing to look at other ideas, other ways of doing things, other ways of being. That's what I want. Because I have no idea what all the possibilities might be in the world. All the possibilities that might be for our community. I just know what happens when we close, when we say, this is it, and are not open to, well, there may be another way to go about all this. I don't know. You know, how do we hold when people act out and act in ways that aren't okay? You know, for transparency's sake, and because I really want to be fully accountable to you guys, I blurted out in a board meeting about a month ago, and it wasn't good. I was not centered. I was not in a good place. I'd gone back and forth even about going to the meeting at all. Somehow decided to go, which was the crazy idea in the first place. And then blurted something out that was hurtful, was not what you want from your spiritual leader. And personnel wrote me up about it and put a letter in my folder saying, that's not what we want from our spiritual leader. And I'm good with that. That letter was right. I want to be accountable to each and every one of you. So I'm looking at that. I want to be open that way because I want to model that for each of you. To know that this isn't about that I feel bad or wrong. It's about that I actually want to grow. That's what I want to model, right? That each of us has the ability to shift and grow, no matter yet whether you're in your 20s or in your 70s or 80s. We have the 90s. We have the ability to continue to grow. It's only when we stop that we've created our own closed system. So I ask you, what is yours in community? What is yours in your life to grow? To feel into the curiosity, your next step, who you're being. I'm clear on mine. They're sitting on that back table. What are yours? What are you being willing to be held accountable for in terms of your personal growth? Not so somebody makes you wrong for it, but because that's actually who you want to be in the world. Because that's who I actually want to be in the world. And that's what I want to model for you. This is what's possible in spiritual community. That we become this. We become more. Are you up for that? Are you up for that? This is what's possible if we come together. If we stand in that place of, okay, somebody acts out, let's call them on it. Let's see if we can call them on it in a good way instead of getting all pissed off at them about it. Right? Because one of the things that can happen is they act out, that triggers you, then you act out. Or am I the only one that's ever happened to? right? And that's okay because that happens, but then bring yourself back and go, okay, that's what happened. Let's see if we can do this better. That's it. No beat up, no wrong. Let's see if we can do this better. What happened, happened. Now let's see what we can do to do this better. That's all. Step by step by step. And I believe that if we do that, we will create a community that is yet to be seen on this planet. We can create something that is the evolution that we set forward for society itself. That is what's possible here. If we can open to this level of curiosity and this level of simply going, okay, we can do better. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see what's possible. Then we are setting forth that consciousness into the world. What we focus on, we give power to. So what we're looking at here is a consciousness in community that then is the consciousness we are standing in the world. That's what's possible. Thank you. I love you.